next thing we're going to do is take off the bucket loader. You can take the bucket loader off first and leave the backhoe attached. However, it makes the front of the tractor very light in my experience with my last John Deere 1 Series TLB. The tractor loader backhoe combination from John Deere. These tractors are so similar in how they function and the weight distribution. The backhoe is a very heavy piece, so I really recommend always taking the backhoe off first, and then if you need to take the loader off to mow, I would do that. One question I had is, can you mow with the bucket loader on? Well, absolutely you can mow with the bucket loader on. However, with the weight of the bucket loader out in front, it causes for a much rougher ride, and also it makes it much harder to get around stuff and up close to stuff. So you can back up and hang a tree and tear the bark or stuff like that, which I have done in my previous tractor. So I mow, it takes literally, once you figure out how to do it, get some repetition of taking the bucket loader on and off, you really can take this thing off in 3 or 4 minutes. I don't really want to bash the John Deere 1 Series tractor because it's a fine backhoe tractor combination. I've enjoyed it. However, I will point out things when I see them. LS Tractor has mounted their hose connection for their loader on the MT125 in a very protected place behind the main arm of the bucket loader. And for most homeowners, this is not a big deal, but if you do any kind of real bucket loader work or you know, moving some small brush around, the John Deere series and others have the hoses mounted out here on the side of the tractor, and that will just beg to be torn off. You know, we hope that you'd never do it, but I've pulled sticks out of mine before that had pushed up in between them. Luckily, they were not big enough to damage it, but it would only take one time. All right, to take this loader off, there's 2 things you have to do. First, you're going to lift the bucket arm all the way to the top. Then we're going to lower the legs that hold it up in an upright position when you back away out, and then set it back on the ground. Once we get it to that point, we'll put up pressure or push down pressure enough on here that these pins will become loose, and then we can take these pins out. The loader at that point will be standing on its own legs and will not need the tractor support. And then you will fold the main arms away and back away from it a few feet, and then disconnect your lines. On the bucket loader, these are the pins that I'm talking about. On these arms, we'll pull these pins out here. They're pretty stout, so I'm trying to do this one-handed and hold the camera. There, you got it. And we're going to pull these pins and then drop the arms. We'll reinstall the pins through these holes after the arm is down. One thing I want to show you is how this arm drops. Now, the pin is out, but this LS has got this cool little latch here that you pull down and then drop the whole arm down. And then when you go to put the arm back up, you just snap it in place. Now the pin up here, when you put that back through that hole, will actually make it stable or make it stay there. But this is a really nice feature. Okay, now the arms are down, and I'm going to lower the loader down to the rest position, and take the weight off of the rear pins so that I can remove them. Another thing I want to point out is LS gives you these awesome places to store all your pins when you're not using it. On the other backhoes, or the backhoes did, but the loaders did not, or my other tractors. I'm not going to bash any other tractors, but that's just a cool feature. And with my other ones, if I left the loader in the shop, I was always leaving the pins laid up on the counter of the shop, or the the shelf somewhere. And then when I went to put it back on a few days later, I'm like, what did I do with the pins? Well, with this, you don't have to worry about it. Okay, now the weight of the loader is actually setting on the bucket loader itself. There's several different ways we can do this. You can set on the tractor and back away while extending the lower arms, or you can use the bucket loader to make it tilt off forward. Now you can see the bucket loader is disconnected from the tractor other than the hoses. Our hoses are located right here again. We've talked about that before. So now we're going to disconnect the hoses from the tractor. One thing I would recommend is to rotate the hydraulic lever to release all the pressure off of the hoses. Otherwise, you will sometimes get stuck to the point that you cannot get the hoses off. Now we're going to disconnect the hoses. Be sure to put the plugs in the end of your hoses and cap these off. Dust is your hydraulic pump's worst enemy. I'll have to say these larger connectors are much easier to take on and off. Just pull the ring back one hand, plug it off, and then put the right colored cap back on it so that when you come back the next time, it'll be real easy to find which place or which one goes which place. Yeah, I'm sorry, my southern got in the way. Okay, now it's time to pull the tractor away from the loader and we will be free and clear. Quick look at the LS MT125 without the loader or backhoe attached. This is just a good looking tractor. It's very solid. I do really like how it's built. It's just quite a bit heavier than it would have to be. I could see this thing working as a contractor with some sort of landscaping company, mucking out horse stalls, and just it's really narrow to be able to get into places that you can't get a big tractor, but it's really stout enough to do real work. And there we are.